Hi! In this video I'd like to show you how I refined my video rig, because I refined it quite a bit because the other rig needed some adjustment and a bit of new parts. I think it's where it has to be right now. But I'd like to share it with you and maybe inspire some of you to make your own choices and see what you'd like in a setup like this. But first of all, I'd like to thank you all for all your comments. I read them. I don't have the time to answer them all. It seems that I haven't been myself lately because apparently I'm Jack Black, or looks like him. One of you wrote that I was the love child between Leonardo DiCaprio and Black Jack. And that's sort of weird, especially because I'm older than both of them. But thank you for your nice comments. I read also all the comments on how I edit my videos and the color grading. I do it all on purpose. You might have noticed this sort of jump cutting, and some of you don't really like it. I have a thing for it. I'm sorry if it bothers some of you, but I like it. But let's get to it. Don't let us waste too much time on the blah blah, and let's just go for what I'm here for. This is how my rig has ended up as of now. And let us go from top. No. Let us go from the bottom and up. It starts with this tripod. This is I don't know how you pronounce it around the world. I pronounce it Schultz. It is a carbon tripod with a video mount. It's quite a bastard. You could say that a Frankenstein model, because usually on this tripod there sits a VH10, I think it's called that. Usually there's a bit of a cheaper video head on it, but this is the broadcast head, and this is called the BCH/10. I'll stop naming stuff and I'll just write it. It's easier, so you don't get bothered to death. Bothered? No, so you don't get bored to death. I'm sorry. English is obviously my second language, or third. So sometimes I have to look for words that doesn't just like pop into my head. Sometimes a teaspoon, you know, you sit with it and think, oh, what's the name of this? And that's why the jump cutting, usually. And also to take out all the I tend to do that because all my videos are improvised. I never work with a script. I might do that. Maybe I should. I don't know. But I think it's easier and faster to make videos if you just improvise. And I just need to get better at improvising. So, well, let's get to it. This is how my rig ended up. And I did some major adjustments to it. First of all, you might think it's a bit weird that my arm sits up this high. But it's actually really nice if you do tilting and panning as well. It doesn't get in the way of the tripod. I like it up here. And you might have noticed, if you're right-handed, why does it sit on the left side? And that is because my rig has this shoulder support. I just want to be able to take this off really quickly and be able to do handheld shooting like this. So I can just move on doing handheld stuff right away. I've changed the base plate, and there's a reason for that. And that is because on a lot of SLR cameras, or SLR style cameras, the thread that mounts the camera is not completely aligned to the center of the lens. And I needed it to be in the center of the lens, and I'll explain that later. This is from Genus Tech, but there's so many other brands. You can just look for something that will fit you. You can just shift it from side to side, and that makes it possible to align the rods exactly to the center of the lens. And why did I have to do that? That is because I am using right now these quite long Samyang lenses, which is called Rokinon in the United States, but everywhere else I think it's called Samyang. And I needed a lens support because it takes a lot of strain where it mounts to the camera if it just hangs there. And there's another problem with it. If you use a follow focus like I do, if you don't have support for the lens, it will move slightly up and down. If you do fast focusing, you just hate it because you can see it on your footage, and it's really super annoying. And that is also why this yellow rubber band is right there. It is there to hold the lens down, and these rollers are for holding the lens up, so it doesn't go anywhere. So now I can focus quickly without any sort of wobbling, and that is super important. Follow focus is a discontinued model from Genus Tech. I got this really cheap because the company that sold them to me, they're stopping having this brand. The rest is pretty much like it was before. except for the support for the lens. I also got rid of the matte box I had before, and I want to use it again because the French flag on top is really good for keeping the light out of the lens. So I added this rubber one instead. And it is also from Genus Tech, and there's a little story about it, and that is kind of weird. I bought a 77 believing that the filter threads were 77 millimeters. It wasn't, it was 86 millimeters. Even B&H got that wrong. So on the B&H website it says 77 millimeter filter thread. It isn't, it's 86. And I am not able to find any step down rings from 86 millimeters. So I bought the 67 instead. The 67 is 77 millimeters. There's no logic. It's not logical at all. So Genus Tech might consider changing the naming of the lens hoods. Maybe, I think so. The 67 is 77 millimeter thread. And the whole key is that I have an ND filter that is variable. And that might seem a bit unprofessional, but these variable ND filters are becoming so much better. And this one in particular I really like because with my X-T2 Fujifilm and the film simulations and this ND filter and some white balance tricks that I use often for getting this look, this makes things a bit browny, and I really like brown a lot. I'll write what this one is called here somewhere so you can see. The lens here is a 24 millimeter Samyang Rokinon lens. They're small cine primes, and they have these scene cine primes as well. I tried it on it and it seems a bit overmuch to get such a huge lens on such a small camera. The scenes are pretty perfect, more or less perfect. These cine lenses are not perfect. It's hard to explain, but they're good when you focus, but the picture outside the focus area is very old school cine-like, in my opinion. That's how I view it, or how I see it. So it's sort of bad, but in a good way. Yeah, it's hard to put it in any other way. I really like how they look. And this is the 24. I have a couple of extras that I borrowed. This one is the 16. This one is not my favorite at all because it's looking through a fishbowl. I'm not too crazy about this. This is quite special because this is an 85 with a Canon mount. And I have this adapter which has glass in it. And that makes this lens, it catches more light, but it looks really horrible in a really cool way. It's almost like anamorphic, sort of, but without the flares. So this is actually a bit of a favorite, but 85 millimeters, quite a bit. The focal length, 24 millimeters for this in film terms would be Super 35 is quite good in my opinion. I like that. This is the 50 millimeters and it's as good as the rest. It has a really nice way of rendering out of focus and renders the focus as really nicely as well. And it's small. But the cool thing is when you change the lenses, the gears are in the exact same spot. So you don't have to change much. And all of these lenses have the same filter thread. It's all 77. And if it isn't, I have put on a step ring, so it's really fast to change. This one is quite cool. It is a 35, fun looking, but it's also the same quality as the rest of the lenses. It has a T-stop of 1.8, so you can really make convincing bokeh if you really want it, and you can let in a lot of light. For sound I use different things. Right now I'm recording with this, which is a Sennheiser AVX system, and that works very well, I think. Today with electronics you can come so far and make really convincing productions with small things like this, if you put them together cleverly. I have some projects in the pipeline that will show what this setup is capable of. For ambient sound, I really enjoy this one. This is a Zoom H2N, and it really records very well. It has the possibility to make something it calls spatial audio, which works for 3D video recording. I don't use that because I don't record in 360-degree live video. I use it just for ambient sound. You know, sometimes if you record a guy that holds a keynote or anything like that, you have this sound, and everything sounds dry, and it sounds kind of weird sometimes, and you really want the footsteps and audience reactions and stuff. And you can use a thing like this on a small tripod, because you'll get footsteps that bounces up into the recording, goes poof, and you don't want that either. So put it on a carpet and on something like this, on a good and solid and stable tripod. Or even better, have a guy hold it on a stick. Whatever you'd like. I always set up my camera fixed. It's always 24 frames per second. It is always 1/50th of a second shutter time, and the ISO depends on how little light there is, but if there's none, I have to turn it up, but else I'd like to stay as low as possible. So I adjust my exposure by turning this. And you might think, what would happen if you sort of knocked it out of place? Don't. Just don't knock it out of place. Get your exposure right, don't touch it. And it's pretty hard. You can see it doesn't really move if you do this. So you have to want to turn it. This setup is really, I hugely enjoy to shoot with it. It's so easy and it's so fast to shoot a lot of video with it. So I get to produce a lot of video. I'm not stuck because I don't have the right gear. I really have the right gear. And it's all centered around this Fujifilm X-T2, which produces really nice pictures that I like. And it produces 4K video. That was it for me. I hope you enjoyed this video, despite of the jump cutting and the and ahs and not getting to the point. But I said again. I hope you got something out of this. I hope you're inspired to go out and make some video. I said again. Have a nice day, and I'll see you later in my next video.